glad you're here. You're all very welcome. I'm Lisa Toline. I'm the president-elect of the MCC Biotechnology Club, and I'm here with Megan Burrows. She's our current president, and she conceptualized and brought forth our event today with the help of the Office of Student Engagement and the Student Development Committee of the Boston Area ISPE. So before we begin to introduce our guests, we have some announcements. First, silence your devices, and I'm going to do that now with mine. And in case of emergency, you can see there are doors very nearby you. Restrooms are out back in the hallway where you came in. And now, please give a round of applause for the Student Development Committee of the Boston Area ISPE because they provided us with lunch. And then I would also like to thank Jessica Cronin and Linda Theim, who are not here, for their help setting up this room. Linda Lausier for being our industry advisor, Professor Stephen Nolan for being our faculty advisor, and the many people who helped us set up today. I'd also like to thank Dr. Bladen, our program director, for coming. And if you have outside, there are 3 scholarships, well, there are only 2 applications for scholarships, and we have flyers. You should, even if you don't think you qualify, apply. Just apply, try. There's an ISPE scholarship, the Joel Goldenberg scholarship, and then the PDA has a second year or a transfer scholarship, and they're good scholarships. Our club has 2 more events coming up this semester. On Wednesday, April 17th, the STEM Starter Academy is providing us with a bus to go to the Interfex convention at the Javits Center in New York City. Interfex has provided us with a code to get free convention tickets. The bus will leave at 6:30 a.m. sharp, which means arrive by 6 a.m. so we can get everybody settled and signed in. If you're going and have not yet turned in your release form, you can't get on the bus. Please sign your release form. I brought some here. Please also add your name and student ID to the sign-up sheet. We still have seats on the bus. Please spread the word as much as possible. We welcome all MCC students. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Touch base with me after lunch. Let's see. And then on Friday, May 10th at 6 p.m., we will host a pizza party and end-of-year celebration in the top floor classroom in the Talbot Center, and everyone here is welcome to attend. And now, I get to introduce our speakers. Let's see. We have Linda Cross. She is the Director of Global Regulatory Affairs and Organizational Change Management at Takeda Pharmaceutical. After earning her Associates in Science in Biotechnology at MCC, she earned her Bachelor's in Science at Boston University in Laboratory and Clinical Sciences and her Master's in Administrative Sciences and Project Management. She's also worked at Sanofi, Genzyme, Northern Light Health, and Biogen. She is passionate about motivating all levels of her organization towards excellence. Elvin Guillarmes is a senior manager of the upstream manufacturing at Ultragenics. Elvin has been working in the industry for more than 15 years, mainly in the clinical and commercial manufacturing of bioproducts for companies such as Vertex, Sanofi, and Agenus. Elvin is a proud MCC alumni, where he obtained his associate degree in biotechnology in 2006. One of the highlights of his career, Elvin worked as part of a small team responsible for developing cell therapy that provides insulin-making cells for type 1 diabetes patients. Richard Echempong is not here yet. We're hoping he will be here by 1:30 or so. Meg Fussell is an engineer and cell culture specialist at Sarepta Therapeutics. With a background in creative arts, Meg made a career pivot to the life sciences in 2020 when she enrolled in the MCC Biotechnology Program. She graduated with an Associate of Science in spring 2023, receiving the Biotechnology Award for an outstanding student. She transferred to Northeastern University's College of Professional Studies to complete her BS in Biotechnology. She currently lives in Cambridge, Mass., where she enjoys exploring the city, trying to find the best chai latte in town. Tristan de Oliveira works at Takeda Pharmaceuticals as a Quality Control Analyst 1. He graduated from MCC in 2019 and then took advantage of the Associates to Master's Matriculation Agreement with Northeastern University to complete his bachelor's and master's in science and biotechnology, sorry. I should get that out of the system. He has also worked at Randstad and put in time working as a lab tech in the MCC Biotechnology Program. He is also an adjunct faculty member at MCC, and he will be, he will be teaching advanced techniques with Dr. Blake this summer. Sometimes. And now, welcome to our panel. Thank you for all coming on the beautiful day. It is nice to see the sun again, even if it's behind some clouds now. You are all welcome here again. And I'm going to welcome Megan Burrows. She is our moderator and our club president. And she's our graduating senior. Here, I have a page. Ready to go. With a list of things. Page 6. She is going to be a commencement celebration speaker, and she won the Joel Goldenberg Scholarship, and that helped pay for at least a year at Northeastern, right? The whole year. A whole year applied to the scholarship.
Thanks very much. Thank you, panelists, for being here today and contributing back to the MCC community. It's greatly appreciated. So the first question we have for you is, can you briefly tell us about your career path so far, and what member of our faculty or staff at Middlesex had the largest impact on you?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Lisa and Megan for following up to make sure that we would be here. I would like to also thank Professor Clayton and Stephen Mullen, who all have been professors in the past in my life and have made such a great impact. To summarize my career path, and is that the question, just to make sure? I started off, obviously, at school here at Middlesex, and I'll start off by even saying one of the largest influences at Middlesex, which was Professor Paul Petit. I actually had enrolled into the nursing program and was taking his chemistry class, and I just shared this story with Professor Mullen, that I was taking his chemistry class, and I am an immigrant from Zimbabwe. And I always wanted to be a doctor. And you have to take what is called advanced level in Zimbabwe, which is kind of like a British system. And during that time, I was taking all of my science classes, preparing to go to medical school. And our chemistry teacher, his main goal was to literally eliminate people from moving forward, and especially women. In fact, he would say, in the first class that you take for your chemistry that semester, your first semester, a lot of you in here need to be housewives, and that's where you should be going. So immediately you felt almost slightly like, oh wow, I don't qualify to move forward in my career. Long story short, I moved back to the US. I'd been here as a child, and financially couldn't really pay for medical school, so my family was like, go into nursing, because that's what, that's a great option, it's more affordable, there's many opportunities. But it wasn't a passion of mine. I really respect people in the nursing community, but it just wasn't a passion that I really felt worked for me. So in Paul Petit's class, he saw that I was excelling in chemistry, and believe it or not, like when I was in Zimbabwe, I was doing awful because the teacher made it his goal to eliminate people from the class. But somehow in Paul Petit's class, I was excelling. I was doing great. And he came to me and he said, you're doing such a great job. What career path are you on? And I said, I'm doing nursing. And he said, is that what you want to do with your life? And I said, no. And he said, how about biotechnology? I knew nothing. This was early 2000s. The general public wasn't fully aware of what biotech was. And he explained that this is an opportunity for you to work on living cells, genetically modify them to make medication to help people. And I was like, sign me up. Immediately I signed up for the program. So it was a major influence in my life. Ever since then, I went from being a manufacturing associate, performance development, went into project management, and then switched over into instructional design for manufacturing, and then also now doing change management based on my master's in administrative science, project management, and now in regulatory affairs. So I went from operations all the way to the regulatory side, which I call the dark side. It's a whole different world in that world. But that's been my career projection.
So my name is Alvin Guimarães. Also, I'm an immigrant from Brazil. All right, so I came here when I was 15, and I think a lot of immigrants can relate to that. We feel a little bit lost when we first came in. So my goal was not to go to school, for sure. You know, so most of my community work in places like cleaning, restaurant, or construction, and that's most likely the place I was gonna go through. And I try to create my career, which is all good, but I felt like because I always like science, I felt like, all right, maybe I can, look into something different. But I didn't have anybody to look up to. It was really, at the time, we have the struggles with the immigrant community. It's very hard to find people that went through the path of coming here as an immigrant and then going to school. Sometimes you find people that come from your country, but they already go into college, they're doing their PhD or they're becoming a doctor. But with my path that I came, was a little difficult to find. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna build my own restaurant and try to build my financial stability from there. And I saved money for a while, built my restaurant, didn't work. That's why I'm here. All right. So, but then I need a little more stability in my life. I was thinking about getting married at the time, and for some reason I found Middlesex doing a Google search, and then I came here and I just signed up for the pre-elective classes, right? Just the math classes, things that I couldn't. I left Brazil at 15. I stopped going to school, so all the time that I came to US, most of the time, I went to school only for 6 months or so. So I came, and when I came here, I was blessed to meet Dr. Bladen, which also is Brazilian, so it was somebody I felt I can connect with, right? And I felt like, okay, well, she did it, she's in a position that I would love to be, and then I was just taking a biology class, I think, at the time, and she mentioned about the Biotechnology Program. And, I always liked to learn about science when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, this might work for me. And I didn't know what biotechnology was at the time. Interestingly, at the time, somebody came to me and said, oh, no, biotechnology is not going anywhere. Right? I was like, and I kind of believed it because I didn't know what it was, and that was, 2002. So I met Dr. Bladen, and she said, oh, sign up for the Biotechnology Program. And that kind of gave me a path on my career, all right? So I was able to get my associate. I started working at Genzyme at the time and continue my bachelor's at Boston University with very low student loans at the time because of the program facilitated the transition, gave some scholarship as well. And I fell into my manufacturing, and I always liked manufacturing. Or I do like more the science side of it, which benefit me a lot, right? Because I learned the engineering skills. If you know any engineering skills in manufacturing, you are a little bit ahead of the game, because once you have any type of issues with quality, with engineering. You bring up the skills that you have about science or engineering, and people they will resonate with your answer more instead of just trying to say this is the way that should be. So for some reason that worked out for me, and I also, because I try to always be manufactured a little bit into process development, I decided to go to a small company which gave me a lot of experience, all right? I was working at Sanofi for Genzyme for 5 years, and then I said, oh, let me go to a smaller company because I will learn what's actually going on here, because I was a little lost at that huge company at the time I was there. And I went to this small company called James. It was very beneficial for my career. I learned so many skills. I learned how to do things that would take me 5 years to do it at Genzyme at the time. They gave me the opportunity because they were small. You need to wear many hats, And somebody trusted on me, gave me the opportunity, and I kept growing. And later in my career, there was opportunity to become a manager, all right? And then I became a manager. Now I am a senior manager, and I'm very attached to the lab work, the cell work. I need to develop a little more my skills on the management side, but I'm going through, and adaptability is something that I have, and it's an important skill to have, and I'm going towards the next step of my career.
My name is Meg Fussell. I started my career in the creative arts. I went to art school in the UK for 2.5 years, and then I lived in London working as a bartender. And then I spent a year at a wilderness awareness school doing wilderness survival skills. So I jumped around a lot trying to figure out what was giving me, just scratching that itch. I felt very curious. I always felt like there was a problem that I wanted to solve, something that none of it was really clicking for me. And in early 2020, I just handed in my notice. I had worked for 3 years as an event coordinator at an art retreat company. And I was like, okay, I guess I could stay in the events, but we all know what happened early 2020. All events shut down. We stopped doing public gatherings and everything. And I thought, okay, maybe this is my time. Maybe this is my time that I can think about something that gave me a spark in high school as well as art. I thought the sciences, like I loved chemistry. Chemistry's a whole different ballgame when you're in college. I was like, okay, chemistry's scary now, but. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll go back and do sonography. And so I was looking, again, Googled Middlesex sonography, and then I went to the first info session about sonography, and they're like, you're gonna have to touch people. And I was like, no, this isn't right for me. But that got me into the college, and then I started seeing the community at MCC and how easy it was to feel welcomed in. And I was like, okay, I want to be here. I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but I want to be here. So I started taking the prereqs, so biology, chemistry, and I took chemistry with Professor Richard, and she gets her talents into you when she notices that you might have interest. And I also, to be frank, I couldn't mess around. I needed a job. So the Learn and Earn was really, really grabbed my attention too. So Professor Richard, Learn and Earn, and then I got in one of Professor Richard's classes, and we started writing an SOP about making toast. Do any of you recall that? And I started writing this SOP on making toast, and I was like, I love this. The attention to detail, the way you have to think about the different processes, the way you have to problem solve. And I was like, I think this is it. So I completed my associates at Middlesex last year. So I think I'm the most recent grad from MCC here. But early 2022, one of Dr. Gladen's former students reached out, and she had an associate engineer position available at Sarepta Therapeutics. And I applied and I got the role. So I currently work as an engineer because I just got promoted. Thank you. As an engineer with a focus of cell culture at Sarepta Therapeutics, I specifically work in gene therapy, which is an incredible field. I, every day, well, it doesn't take a day, but over the course of 3 weeks, grow cells from our little tiny cryotube to 250-liter reactors. I transfect them, and then I also get to work with the downstream team on purifying, and we make treatments for people with neuromuscular diseases. And I'm not sure if you heard of Sarepta, but we just had one of our treatments approved by the FDA last year, which was incredible. And so to be part of a company that's on the edge of this science is really amazing. And so I guess I feel really fortunate to have not even finished my undergrad yet. I'm still undertaking my undergrad, and I'm in an engineering position thanks to the MCC community and the networking and the fact that my manager is also an MCC alumni. She graduated early 2000 as well too. So I'm very grateful for MCC as a whole for the connections that we get to make here. Yes, thank
you. My career, how I got to here to Middlesex was I was at Middlesex Community College with my brother, who was an engineer. So we were there, and we realized it wasn't so great, like the things are there, so it wasn't a huge career path. So we decided to search around, and then we came up like Erica did on Google, and we saw Middlesex Community College. So I started here with just the regular general elective classes. But then my youngest brother, Ryan, was in Dr. Bladen's class. And the joke is in my family is that he was the one who taught me on biotechnology. He's the one that actually showed me my career. So then I ended up meeting Dr. Bladen and getting into the class here. Who I would say is most influential? Probably be Sunny. When I saw his class and how it was, it really helped me for my undergrad. Going to Northeastern, seeing how the colleges go there. I currently work at Cafeteria as a quality control analyst one, and then also recently just became an adjunct faculty here, so that's pretty much what I do.
Yay.
Thanks, guys. So the next set of questions that I asked, don't feel obligated to answer everyone. If you have something to contribute, great. If not, don't feel pressured. We have quite a few questions. So the next question I have for you is, what skills do you believe are essential for someone looking to start their career in biotech?
I think it's a willingness to learn. Really, sometimes some of these jobs, especially considering mine, they're not looking so much as to your hard skills. They're more looking to your soft skills, how you're able to interact with people. So one of the skills I would say that's pretty important for in the biotech career is, your soft skills, how you interact with people. It's one of the big ones I would say. It's kind of sometimes the make or break if you're actually going to be in the company long or they're not going to keep you.
If I hold it like this, can you hear me? Is it close? I only have a small thing to contribute, but I think initiative goes really far in my experience. I'm on a team with 11 other people who also value initiative, and so we kind of lift each other up, and I think I agree with Tristan that the hard skills like aseptic technique have been really helpful, but if you have the initiative to learn and the curiosity, that will speak volumes and propel you and your team, so you're helping each other as well too.
Yes, I do agree, because when you go into a company, everybody's have a trained program already in place, especially if the company has been around for a while. So they do want you to see how you're going to react, how you're going to collaborate, right? When people ask you for a help, how you're going to react to that. Always because it's really hard to capture everything that you're gonna be doing into a job description. And you don't want also to just do those things in a job description, because that won't take you anywhere on your career, on your next step. So if you learn how to interact, you always also get more opportunities, because people like to work with people. They are easier to work with, right? Sometimes if you are in a project and your manager want to choose you to lead or to collaborate, if you know how to relate with others well, most likely you're going to have another opportunity. And one skill that also complements that is that sometimes it's really hard to work a lot of times with some people that wants everything black and white, because none of the companies I worked in the past were black and white. You always have to do something that a little bit out of your job scope. So that's something that you keep in mind. Sometimes people are gonna ask you to do things not because they want to take advantage of you, but just because the job needs to keep moving and get done.
Thank you. I agree with everyone on the panel. When it comes to baseline, Middlesex does a great job of giving me those hard skills. But one thing I would add to the list that's already been provided is integrity. It's really important when you're going into this industry. We just heard about, approvals for drugs that are going out, and at the end of the day, everything that we make here goes to patients, goes to somebody's family member. And making sure that you're always working from a perspective of integrity, no matter how small your position is when you're working. And I'll give a story where the first promotion I got was because I messed up. And I'm gonna explain why, and how I got the promotion. So the first job that I was looking to get promoted into, and I was trying to move from a manufacturing associate into training coordinator. I was excited about this. I had applied for it previously and didn't get it, somebody else got it. And this was my second opportunity. And the first time it wrecked me, because I was like so sure I was ready for it. So the second time I was super gung-ho. I was gonna do it. I had prepared myself, and the week of the interviews, I was training a new hire. And I pulled out the SOP, I'm walking through it meticulously, doing everything right, perfect. And we close everything, it was something we need to assemble in autoclave, put it in the autoclave. Thought I had been perfect, everything's great. A week later, a deviation pops up. And they were like, it looks like there was one step missed. And at that point, my stomach just dropped to the ground, because nobody wants to hear a deviation with something you're associated with doing. And it turns out that they had added one last step. It was like tie bag or something at the end. And it was on the next page. It was a new step added. It was on the next page, and I missed it. And at that point, I was called to the office. I was in the middle of having interviews, and I was just wrecked as well. I was like, there it goes, I'm not gonna get it. So I walk into the office, and they asked me what happened. And at that point, it could have been easy. Well, I was training the new hire, and they forgot, or something like that. But I walked into that office, and I said, I take full responsibility for what happened. I was training somebody, they were under my supervision, and I failed to see that new step. And that is on me and not the new hire. And I knew that that manager favored another candidate over me. They were friends outside the office. That candidate was pretty on par with me. So at that point, he decided to actually move the interviewing and pass it on, because I think it was a little bit, he realized he was a little bit biased, but it was at that point, right after, he brought me into his office, and I said, I per my supervision, I failed. And I ended up getting that position. So integrity is really paramount. Own up to what you do wrong, bring it up to the surface, no matter the consequences. At that point, I could have been passed up for that position. But it actually brought to the attention to the leaders that I am a leader. I am willing to be a shepherd to my team. And that's how I ended up getting that position.
Great, thanks, guys. So the next question is a question that's specific from a student who submitted this question. The question is, are there any extracurriculars you would suggest participating in?
Yeah, so definitely something like this, all right? Any type of club you have. I didn't know if we had this when I was coming here, or I just was working and couldn't really get involved as much as I should have done. But these types of, any types of club, extracurricular, go to conference, we do give you skills like whoever is organizing this today, right? You learn project management skills, you learn organization skills, and also give you connections. That is extremely important. A lot of jobs that we hire people or we get is always due to connections, and those connections are important. It can go both ways, all right? Because if you have some type of issue with integrity, people are going to mention, though they're not going to mention, but they might just say, oh, maybe not, you know, they're not gonna, and nobody's going to hire as soon as the person say those words. So integrity is important because it's going to give you your name, you know, you carry your name throughout your career. So I think going back to the extracurricular skills, anything you can get involved outside, the courses here are prepare you very well for what you do, but all of those things that outside, like this program and this type of activity that you do, clubs, it does show that you are doing more than you were required to, and that shows a lot when you go to an interview or also talking about your career, right?
I can add, one thing that helped me that was extracurricular was one debate club in high school. I don't know if there's a debate club here, but it's a great way to learn how to argue your points, right? How to influence. So we all have TikTok and all that, but before TikTok, as influencers, debate classes were great because you challenge yourself in arguments. But the second thing is also opportunities to lead outside of school, outside of work. Those help to develop your skills for talking to different people, different levels. So I think these opportunities are always in the community, whether it's volunteering. I volunteered at a church. I was like a youth leader. Those opportunities develop my ability to speak as well, because you get more opportunities to speak in front of a large audience, get those nerves out. So definitely take those opportunities to be a leader, even outside your schools and your jobs.
I would ask that definitely get involved with the ISP and the PDA and network, and even if you don't want to be an officer, you can always volunteer at events, and it really is a great way to be a part of it and to get to know people in the industry. So the next question we have is, how did your education and any hands-on experience or internships contribute to their entry into the biotech field?
Sorry, just because I have the mic. I would say it was probably 70% of everything that has, made my career successful. Started off at Middlesex. The hands-on with cell culture, purification techniques, they were pivotal in everything that I did. The professors just guiding you through processes, understanding methodologies. It was everything, really. 70% of my successes is due to the hard skills that I learned here at Middlesex and also at Boston University. So yes, definitely 100 internships. I did intern at Biogen when I was working there. One advantage it gave me is because I needed an internship outside of my current position. So it allowed me to ask my managers to allow me to work in QC. At that time, I was working in manufacturing. So it was a great opportunity to learn the quality side of the laboratory work that I probably would never eventually have gotten, but expedited that opportunity for me. So internships 100% take advantage of that.
Yeah, the hands-on classes that we have here in Middlesex are really important, right? In biotechniques. One example that I have that really impacted my career, like I work with stem cells here in 2003, right? And then when I got a job at a small company called Therapeutics, they were working with stem cells. So no, I couldn't find almost, unless you come from a graduate school, like you come as a doctor, go into there working research, but in manufacturing, I was the only person that had experience with stem cells, and I was very happy for that, and very thankful for the opportunity here. That before almost anybody else, Middlesex already had some cells here. I don't know how they got those cells back then because it was really hard. Oh, okay.
I agree with both of you. The hands-on experience was integral. My first day of my job, my manager asked me to go in the biosafety cabinet, and I was like, buckle up, like, I can do this. Whereas I had a coworker who was hired on the same day as me who hadn't gone through the program, and he was white as a sheet. He was like, ugh. And then I was able to show him on my first day of my job how to don gloves and use a pipette and everything, and how to properly use a pipette, thanks to Professor Sunny. Properly use a micropipette. Every time I use a micropipette, Sunny, I'm like, oh my god. Why are there bubbles? But all that aside, the hard skills, but also math. I do a ton of math daily in my job, so it's the little bits along the way of my education that I'm like, oh yeah, like math for technology, what did we do in the solutions in that? And it starts coming back to you, and you may not remember it on the spot, but you at least know where to look in either your peers or your mind, or where to quickly Google how to get the information you need, like standard deviation calculators, all that stuff. At least you have a vague understanding, and it only like gets easier too as well. Like as you go further through your education, I'm doing some epidemiology right now at Northeastern, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've already done this already. Like, you know, and it gets a little easier. You get more into a groove, and it feels like less of this high learning curve, and then it starts to all click and make sense. But it was thanks to the foundational learning at MCC that I felt like I got that leg up. That it's just given me more and more confidence as I've gone along.
Yeah, I would agree with everybody. The art skills is it gives you a good base to start your career with, especially as everybody's saying when they first start with pipetting or be it not. It's surprising how many people you go into a job with, and it's kind of like their first time touching a pipette or something like that. So it's very good base, and I encourage anybody to take that. And like she said, with her internship, my internship was also with my company, so I was able to just take on a different role in my company. It's a great experience to do that. So if you ever have a chance within your company to do that, I recommend to take it too.
Thanks, guys. The next question I have is, could you share a pivotal moment or a key decision in your career that significantly contributed to your advancement?
I already say it,
Okay.
but it's basically. I think I already mentioned. For me, it was the decision going from a large biotech company to a small biotech company. I didn't have the idea of, oh, stability, oh, this company has less money than the other one. I just had in mind that I need to learn more. You know, of course, the stability of a smaller company is not as much as a bigger one. There is that risk there. But for me, it was that decision of going to a smaller company that gave me the opportunity to broaden my knowledge. You know, so I think that was a pivotal moment of my career because it helped me grow faster, right, than if I would stay at a larger company.
I would say a pivotal moment in my career happened about 4 years ago. So having been in the industry for over a decade, sometimes we kind of hit that area in your career where things become a little bit stagnant and you want to change things. And I remember meeting with a mentor, and this mentor, interestingly, had passed me up on one job, ended up hiring me. And I made it a point to become close to that individual so I could learn why I was passed up for the first time. Because sometimes you need to ask those hard questions. What did I do wrong, or what do I need to learn to move to the next level? So I made that individual my mentor, and asked them, not me, but asked them to be my mentor. And at a pivotal time, I asked her, feedback about how I was doing. She said, one, I passed you up. I can't even remember why, because this was 2 years after when I finally met with her and had an opportunity to kind of ask. But she said, hey, you're doing a great job in the position you're in. It sounds like you want to move to the next level. And she asked me to do something interesting. She said, instead of thinking about the title that you want in your next position, think about the role and responsibilities that you want. What exactly is the work that you want to do on a daily basis? And she said, write it down, write exactly what you want to do in your career. And I was able to write down my thoughts. I wanted to have more management over processes, create new processes, oversee processes. And it wasn't more than probably 2 weeks later, an old colleague from Biogen, I hadn't talked to him for 5 years. And by the way, LinkedIn, make it your best friend. And he reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, I think I got a job that fits your qualifications. Would you be interested? He sent this job that to me looked like a sentence, and I was immediately intimidated because it read like a sentence. It's like global regulatory affairs, quality management systems, training and change management. It was a sentence of a title, and I was like, what is this? And it was associate director, so it was one of those big jumps where you go from manager to associate director, so I was like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. So I start reading the job description, and it matched exactly what my mentor had asked me to write, which came from what I wanted to do. And I was like, I think I can do this position. So I went for the interviews, and I got the position. And it was amazing because the person who referred me wasn't the hiring manager. So it was really interviewing with whole new people that I had not worked with directly. One of them was a person I previously had maybe 1 or 2 meetings with at Biogen. But again, being able to have a mentor, one, having a LinkedIn account that stays up to date with your qualifications and what you're doing, and then also being able to take that big leap. Sometimes you gotta go into your next level. You might not even believe that you're ready for it, but you know what? Trust in your experience, in your capabilities.
Thanks. Next question I have is, what does a typical day look like in your role, and how do you prioritize your tasks and responsibilities?
Typical day for me is a lot of meetings. The higher you get in your positions, it's less of actually laboratory work and active tasks than it is decision making. So I start my day usually with IMs immediately. My reports IMing me saying, hey, I need this, can you approve that? And then, it's usually, right now I have a couple of projects that are major. So I have a Viva implementation. I talked to the other Linda that's in here about a Viva implementation that I'm working on. So it's a major project. So we have 5 systems being integrated into one from legacy systems. And then I also have one-on-ones with my reports, making sure that they have everything that they need in terms of understanding processes and methodologies for change management. I also host a lot of what we call hypercare meetings. So after we implement a process, so we have hypercare where all the employees come in and they ask questions about the process or areas of gaps that they have. So it's a lot of facilitation as well. And then lastly, training. Training is ongoing. So new training pops up in my inboxes all the time, and I have to make sure I complete those trainings on time. It's part of our compliance checks. So it is not as interesting as lab work, but I love it because this is really how we get the engine going as far as the decision making needed to progress. But that's my day.
My day is still like between into meetings and some type of process work. We still like a smaller site, all right? There's the department is still quite a bit. We have I work with 4 other people in my team currently. So is that balance that I do struggle as a manager as supporting your employees when they need your support, but also at the same time let them learn by themselves. So it's a little bit of a struggle because I want to make sure I'm present when they need my help, but I'm also at the same time I want them to develop themselves. So that's why it's important, the communication, because they are the ones that has to, in my case, I wait for them to tell Elvin it's okay. We can take care of this critical process today, and then I'll step out. And I feel, whatever happens, but once I need to trust when people say that they get it. So I struggle between the time inside the lab, which I love it too, because that makes me a better person to make the decisions outside that is going to impact the people that work with me, and also a lot of meetings, all right? So there's a lot of meetings to what's next, all right? So usually when you are a supervisor, you planning the activities for the next week or so, or the next 2 weeks. When you're a manager, you already start thinking about things a couple of months ahead. When you're a director, which I'm not there yet, but I can say that they are thinking about things a year ahead, that things, long projects that are going to be implemented. So it's on that transition, depending the side of the company too. Those are the things I've been doing daily, as far as work, on my daily basis. The job of the operators are slightly different, because they do have to prioritize all of the process all the time, right? Because process is the most important thing that we do in manufacturing, but a little bit at my level is right between. Okay?
So I work in process development, so I'm in this sweet spot between R&D and manufacturing, and I work on the large scale process development, so I'm not on the small scale. So the largest bioreactor I work with is 250 liters, but it will soon be 500 and 1,000. So I'm the lab rat. I'm the one who's hands-on. I'm in there at 8 a.m. in the morning. I'm there 12 a.m. in the morning, and I'm there. Well, it's meant to be 8 to 4, Monday to Friday, but the cells grow however the cells want to grow. And so I'm there hands-on. I'm sampling the bioreactor. I'm making solutions. I'm really in the lab, hands-on, 40 hours a week. But in the engineering role, we're always slightly tweaking the process. We're always slightly trying to make it a little better, or a little, where can we trim the fat here? Where can we make this a little more streamlined? And there's already a lot of scientific knowledge that is known, so you can't do certain things, but we're always trying to make it just a little better, because when it does get transferred to manufacturing, there's a gap. We need to figure out how the manufacturer can then produce a lot of this product so it can get to the patients who need it. And so on a daily basis, I'm working really closely with my team. There's 11 of us at any point in the lab, but as the upstream SME, I am working with the cells, and I'm hands-on in the lab. But I'm also writing SOPs and master batch records, so it's not, I'm sometimes at my desk, and there's a lot of data analysis that I do as well too, because we can be running batches, but unless you know what's happening, like you don't know how your cells are growing or how they performed after you transfected them, like you need to be able to analyze that data to know whether or not what you're doing is working. So there's a data analysis side, a lot of time in Excel. Get comfy with Excel. Yeah.
Yeah, so my day-to-day is kind of almost like Megan's, where I'm pretty much in the lab basically full-time. My schedule is kind of, the nice thing about being a quality control analyst is that we get to run a lot of different assays, so every day that I come in, it's almost a different assay every day that I get to run. So usually my day-to-day looks like coming in, seeing which assay I'm running the assay, using LIMS or whatever interface that your company uses. And then from there, it's mostly filling up time helping others, as my team is about 9 or 10 people, so we're all running assays, or sometimes we need a review of something, so it's helping them too. And then on top of that, sometimes also prioritizing projects that I'm in and stuff like that, where we're trying to improve processes in quality control also, where we have to improve it. And also, as indicated, we have a lot of training, so a good portion of our day is just a lot of training that has to be done so we can stay compliant.
So in terms of time for our panelists, I'm going to skip to question 11. And that is, how can applicants effectively showcase transferable skills on their resume when transitioning from a different field into biotechnology?
So this is a really great question, and I struggled with it when I was trying to transition into the industry. So as some of us here shared, we're immigrants, and you come in, you find the job that you find. A lot of us are trying to take care of family abroad as well. So I was working in the nursing home. So I was a nurse's assistant, CNA, and trying to transition to an actual career. And on my resume, I compared cell culture to having a patient. If you have a patient, you have to take their temperature, you have to take care of their food intake. We actually had to write intake for the food that they're taking. And a lot of cell culture is exactly like that. So I kind of showcased how my day-to-day actually transitioned into actual occupation, which also takes in the education you already have. So think about what you currently do. It could be taking care of your siblings if you don't have a job. It could be your current job working at Payless. I worked at Payless as well, by the way. So being a cashier and being responsible for the cash coming in, showcasing your having how you take care and have responsibility over important things. Being able to showcase how your education has transitioned into your personal life in some way is a great way. So no matter the job that you have, no matter the experience, there's always some way to add that into your resume, if not directly in your interview. This is another area where you can showcase those things.
Trick that I learned not too long ago is like I get the job description that I want to be, that I wanted. Even sometimes it's a couple of positions up, not the one that I'm applying, and I put it in an Excel sheet. And on the Excel sheet, one column for the for the descriptions of the responsibilities, all right, the qualifications, and then after that, what do I have, and what do I need to do to get that box checked, all right? So a lot of times, those that prepares you very well for interview, because they're going to bring up the things that are in the job description, and you're already going to have an answer. And you say, no, I manage my time really well because I go to school, all right? That's already a project managing certificate that you should be getting by going to school and work, like everybody is doing that. So I manage my time well, and also I have responsibilities of taking care of other people. So all those things can definitely connect. I'm very adaptable. I came from another country. I learned English here. I learned how to, work in places that I never worked before, relate to different cultures. So all those things count. And then also you can put on that other column, what do I need to do? And those things you can have a clear goal of, all right, I need to take a course here, or I need to volunteer at somewhere, at a club like this. And those things will fill up the gap and it will make you very qualified for any interview once you have all those sentences check on your spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
I agree with you both. I really don't have much to add, but I think the one thing I would recommend is if you put anything on your resume, make sure you can back it up. Or that you feel like you understand enough about, say, for example, Eliza, that someone asks you about it in the resume, that you can talk about it. I think I had an interview, it was one of those speed dating ones where you're in a room with 15 people and they're all looking at you for 15 minutes. And they asked me, they were like, you look like you have a lot of upstream experience. Can you tell me about your downstream experience? And I'm like, oh, no. I went blank. And so I think if you put something on your resume, just make sure that you can back it up. And but then also at the same time feel kind of comfy being like, no, I don't really have that experience, but I'm excited to learn. I would love to learn more about that. I look forward to the opportunity. So yeah, I think if you're going to put something on your resume, make sure you know what you're talking about when you have it on there. Yeah.
And now we're going to go to question 13, which is, what strategies have you found most successful in navigating the biotech job market, especially during economic downturns or industry shifts?
I would say the biotech industry has been probably one of the more stable industries, especially when we've had downturns. And the recent COVID pandemic, I actually saw more jobs being opened up just because of the need of that time, which was really exciting. But I would say when it comes to just staying open to learning, and I think learning was one of the things that we talked about, is that it's important to learn new skills, new certifications, because the industry is always changing, right? Right now we're talking about cell therapy being a big part of the industry. So it's important that when you get certification in that, you get experience in it, and I would say Middlesex does a phenomenal job staying on top of what's new, and they always seem to be one step ahead, so take advantage of that, because our professor, through Professor Bladen's leadership, they really know how to make sure you stay ahead of the curve. So learn new things. Think of also your management skills, like project management certifications. I think those are great. They really give you the edge over other people. Like people are coming in and they have the baseline, lab skills, but you say, hey, I also have the project management certifications. And those are really easy to come by. They're like 3-month certifications and so forth. So in terms of time investments, it might be very little, but when people are looking at that resume, each and every little certificate that you get gives you an advantage over others.
Just adding to that, yeah, I think it is sometimes companies goes to downturn, right? We are lucky that we are in Boston. There's, for at least for the foreseeable future, there will be opportunities around here. But sometimes companies do go through downturns and layoffs happen. That sometimes is not a bad thing. Of course, at the time it's tough, right? I was laid off before, but at the same time, laid off with another 100 people. So all of those people found jobs somewhere in the Boston area. So now I have connection on all of them. I don't know, 50 companies or I didn't count, but around that. So you know all of those connections and you can reach out for them in the future. So it's very important for you to keep your account during these times, if that ever happens. And you just know you're going to be fine. You are in a good area, you have a good education, you're getting good education here. One thing that I think helped me was that I am always open to go the extra mile and work a little harder sometimes. So once somebody needs to be laid off, all right, there will be definitely a lot more work for the person that's taking the job, all right, because two people, one person going to do the work of two people. So they are going to look into, okay, which is the person that is going to, could do a little extra here. So that counts as well. All right, we all know about work. We all have activities outside of work as well, but it's something that when you are at work, try to be at work, all right? And once you are out of work, hopefully you have your time off, but once you're at work, try to be there, helpful to the other teams, collaborate well, because it does count when difficult decisions have to be made.
Thanks for that. I want to make sure that we leave some time for audience questions. So this time I want to invite anybody who has a question to come up here and ask the panelists directly. Don't all get up at once.
So hello, I think I'm better reserved for the students, but I have some questions for you guys. What is your strategy or preparation? I know that most of you guys already answered a lot of wonderful questions prepared by Megan and the others, I don't know. When you prepare for a job interview from a student to internship, now when you have internship, because when you finish with that associate degree, you may go to bachelor's degree, you have another transition from internship, switch to a different job, or switch to a permanent job. So whether we have the downturn of the economy or somehow that you know that your learning at your current company is no longer benefits to you, what is the best way to look for the job with a higher or successful rate from one place to another place? So in other words, to me, the transition for different positions are not the same. When you don't have a job, you get internship, you're very happy. But after you get internship, now you get the degree. Of course, you're looking for money. Without the money, that's sort of survival. So how do you look for that job? That's what I'm looking for.
And just for clarification, the question is, how do you strategize for moving to a next level of a position, or is it more of a lateral position?
So in other words, you know that your time with the current company is very short life.
Yes.
What can you do that you make sure that you have the opportunity to grab the job with the next sprint before you get let go or voluntarily go, so you have a job and survive?
Yes, okay. So really preparing yourself for that potential layoffs or transitions that happen out of your control. So I also was laid off. So the first company that I worked at was Biotech, and I worked there for 9 years. And I would say the best way to prepare for what's next is to really take each day as a learning opportunity. That's really was my perspective. One, I wanted to make sure that any new task that I learned, I proficiently learned. I also learned what I was passionate about, right? Because as you can see, all of us here have different jobs right here. So try to figure out, as you're in your current position, what are you passionate about? What do you like about your day-to-day job? What would you like more of? And then once you figure out what that more is, start looking for opportunities when they come in your company to start moving towards that, whether it's volunteering. Like for me, I love training. I love the fact when people came in, I was the person who would get assigned new hires before I was even a training coordinator, because I would be patient with them, I would walk them through the process. And I actually thought it was important because I felt like when I came in, it was all rushed. It was like, just go and do it. And I was like, well, I would like somebody to walk me through it so I know what I'm doing and reduce the chances of making mistakes, right? So I always took that time to make sure that people understood. And sometimes to a point where people are like, this person's not great, just let them go. And I'm like, no, I still can say, let's do this. Let me take some time, let me work with them, assign them to me. So again, find your passion. Start looking for opportunities in those areas in your current role, and there's always opportunities. For example, SOP writing. If you discover that that's an area you love, the next time there's there needs to be a new revision in an SOP, volunteer. Say, hey, I can do that. I can take that on. Learn. And then also shadow people. If you see that it's slow in your job, in your current role, and you realize another department that you might be interested in or don't know anything about, hey, it's slow in my department today. Instead of being on your phone and just not really doing anything that day and saying, hey, I'm getting free money, say, hey, is there work to do in that other department? I'm gonna go and shadow and be there. Be indispensable in some way so that even when you leave because of downturns, you have so many skills that you would have learned out of that job. I can tell you, I was on a project at Biogen when I got laid off that was for taking our document approval process and making it automated, because it was like a paper system. You had to find all the managers to approve the changes that were happening. I was working with IT at the time to create a SharePoint site form that was automated that would kind of fall into whoever was next to sign. And that was really helpful. And then I got laid off, and that project went away. But the skills today, like this is 7 years after, I am still using the skills that came out of that project for how to use SharePoint site. Also learn technology. Like I know a lot of people are young, technologies and obvious, but learn new technology that actually helps you. It's just part of work these days.
Do you have any other questions from the audience?
My question is, how do you see the biotech industry evolving in the next 10 years?
Yeah, so I do have a big hope for that things is going to continue to do well. If you just read any type of statistics, things are really looking really great. All right, it's just going to be more and more jobs in the field. But you asking my personal take on it. We finally are going to moving from treatment to cures. Right? So that's a big change that we've been searching for. The industry, science has been searching for so long. So, you have gene editing, you have these new technologies coming, you have AI that's going to somehow be implemented to all of the biotech field at some point. So we have the possibility to start curing people, curing a person that was born with a genetic disease and now it's their whole life, instead of being inside a hospital, might be 1 year treatment, and that person's whole life is going to be changed. So I think that's There has no price, all right, for that. Of course, the drug product needs to come down. I'm not saying that, but there's no price of changing the life of the person like this. So I do not see, because of this changing that's happening right now and this possibility, I just see this growing and becoming more and more, I don't know, even popular to the common knowledge of people.
So one thing that I've noticed within the industry, we are using a lot of artificial intelligence. And it didn't start with the last 2 years where it's become a buzzword, but there were already some capabilities in terms of making simulations of protein therapies, right? Being able to simulate clinical trials, like how will this protein work within the body based on the knowledge that lots of scientists have pulled into our computer systems. So that is the future. Even our clinical trials, they're getting shorter and shorter. So that's something that's happening because, again, we're using a lot of AI technology, a lot of information reservoirs to be able to make assessments of what the future will look like if we implement a certain therapy. So that's going to be a great area. So if people are looking to go into that field and you like the computer, you like developing programs, that's a huge area within the biotech industry, within the science industry that's cropping up.
So the other microphone died, and we have about 30 minutes left. I'll take one more question because I see it again.
Hi everyone. My question for you guys is, how would you recommend students or regulatory professionals to navigate burnout when being pulled so many different ways? With classes, having to attend those in person as well as working full-time. A lot of students may have to be full-time to have scholarships and be able to pay for the education that they're getting. So how would you recommend they navigate that?
Fantastic question.
And that's a really good question and a very relatable question. I think for me, leaning on my peers has been really important. You're not alone in that. And you're also not alone in industry either. Many of us are either finishing our undergrad or going on and getting your master's. So I think for me, mine has been, actually, my inspiration is Dory from Finding Nemo. So I go, just keep swimming. But find ways to, I'm very strategic with my time management, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work for 3 hours tonight on this chemistry homework, but then I'm gonna make sure my computer's off by 8, and then I'm gonna give myself an hour of downtime. And I just give myself those little moments of like break and peacefulness for myself so that I don't just find myself like running into a wall at the end of it. Because, we love this stuff. Like, we don't do it because we do it because we're passionate, and so when you're passionate, you just want to keep going at full steam, but I find I have to just find ways to take care of myself, because otherwise I'm not going to have the momentum to keep contributing. So, I don't know, just have little mantras for yourself, or just pockets of time so that you can just recenter, and that's been helping me at least.
Also, in your current role, it's like you said, there's many of us that are, so sometimes even your supervisor may be going to class, so I would say don't be afraid to speak up, to try to sometimes manage your schedule with your supervisor or something like that. I have a couple of coworkers who they had to take time off of work like one day for the whole semester, and we work and we're able to accommodate them by either they come in work later Sunday or something like that. So I would say be willing to speak up to your supervisor is also a great thing, because most of us are in the same boat. We're studying too, so it's not foreign.
the hardest question that you can have, because everybody is struggling with that, and it's really hard. You go to school, you have to work, you have to pay bills, right? So, of course, if money was not an issue, I think half of these problems would be solved. But it is, right? So I think what you just say, it does. What sometimes a person like a supervisor or manager wants, that once you're there, you are there. It's really easy, you know, when somebody asks me for a day off, I say, no, yeah, please take it. Oh no, it's okay to come 9. I really try to do that because I was there too. Oh, you can leave early, but once you're there, try to be there. It's really important. And if you need time out, you just plan ahead, right? You don't need to say, oh, can I come? You can say, can I come next week, later or earlier, and leave earlier? True. You can always manage. Those things are easy. What people sometimes don't react to well is last minute request. Oh, I'm sick today. Oh, I cannot come today because I have to study to this test. So those last minutes does create a little bit of stress because you're taking time of other person that they're gonna have to do your work that needs to be done on that time. So if you can plan ahead, it's really important. Another thing that I did, you know, I don't know if I recommend, is that I can only focus on certain things, right? So money became a really issue during my time at school, and I basically say I cannot leave the school right now, right? Because once you leave the school, it's really hard to get back. So school was, I realized that school was gonna take me out of the position I was at that time, and it's gonna give me more opportunities. So I was not giving up that, all right? I gave up a little bit of work. I started leaving my work earlier. They allowed me to start at 5 and leave at 1. And also I did start using my credit card more often than I wanted to, because all of my bills that I could not have pay, that I didn't have money to pay, or sometimes even, you know, little things like gas, I put on the credit card, and I'm like, I'll take care of this later once I graduate. You know, it was on my last year, so it wasn't too much. So, but those are the things. I gave up on some of my worries because school was my priority, and also my job, I needed the job to continue, so, but I gave up some hours. So I gave up on some things fun, I gave up totally back, you know, the year before. But I do write down my priorities sometimes and say, those are the things I'm gonna focus, at least for this year or for the next 2 years, and the other things I'm gonna have to give up.
And I agree exactly with what you're saying, prioritization and giving up things. I know when I was going at Middlesex, I had to do the same thing as far as work. I knew I wanted a scholarship when I was going to BU, so I wanted to make sure my grades were excellent. I was living by myself, paying all my bills, and I started working 32 hours a week, which wasn't enough for everything, so I had to rely on my credit card as well. But I'm not saying that should be what you do. If you can get, student aid and so forth, apply for it. Get those loans. At the time, I just couldn't qualify for it, so I was stuck having to use my credit card. But I said I'll pay later because I prioritized my education at that time. Another thing I would add, this is more of your mental health and making sure you focus. I heard a saying that totally hit me hard. It said that procrastination is a silent protest against your own progress. Like, that hit me hard. So just listen to it. Procrastination is a silent protest against your own progress. So use your time well. I think we all have bouts of procrastination. Where you kind of leave things to the last minute, and usually that's where that stress comes from sometimes, because you realize, oh my gosh, I wasted this whole weekend, I didn't do anything, and I know I had this paper due, or I have to go to work at the same time. So try not to procrastinate. Really build in a schedule for yourself that has flexibility. So you should have some flex time built in for yourself to relax. But don't let your procrastination be the reason why you do not succeed, or you end up causing yourself some mental heartache as well. I have kids, and sometimes that's the big issue where they call stressed and crying. I'm like, did you procrastinate, not do your stuff on time? And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Thank you.
I just want to add one more thing, but things do get better. Right, is the issue that I have. It's important to know that, because the issues that I had when I was going coming here to Middlesex or going to BU and working at the same time as an office, they are different. It's not like life is great now and everything is wonderful. No, but they are different issues. The struggles are different. All right, the money struggle is easier. The time management is easier as well. It does get better.
All right, guys, I really want to thank the panelists for their time and invite everyone to enjoy lunch. Dr. Blake?
I just want to say one thing, and that has to do in regards to a question, what is the future on biotechnology? We were at a conference last month for Mass Life Science, and they are previewing 40,000 jobs. So that's the outcome that you are going to go for. And one other thing, either if you are internship looking for a position, or internally moving from one position to another within the same company, or going from this company to another company, never burn your bridges. Never, never, because we are an inbred type of industry. You will work with one person in this company. When you apply to another one, that person may be your boss. Never burn your bridges. That's one thing you keep in mind, okay? Thank you.
Everyone, please enjoy lunch. We have plenty of food.